Hi Harry, hi Livy. When we were last in the Enchanted Wood, if you remember, the children were in Dame Slap-a-Lot's school and it wasn't very nice. So let's see how they get on and how they're going to get away from her. Joe sat hunched up near to Moonface. Silky and Bessie and Fanny were talking together. The white goat sat on Bessie's knee and slept. The 7 hens tried to scratch the hard floor and clucked softly. "Where's my clock?" said Silky suddenly. Everyone looked round the room for it. It wasn't there. "It must have been left behind in the schoolroom," said Joe. "Never mind, Silky, you may get it back if we get out of here in 3 hours' time." "I hope so," said Silky. "It was a nice clock, and I liked it, having feet to walk about on." "It's lucky not to be locked up with us," said Joe. "If there was a window in this silly round room, we might break it and escape through it, but there wasn't even a small window." "And there isn't a fireplace either," said Moonface. "If there was, we might squeeze up in the chimney." "Listen," he said suddenly. "There's someone knocking at the door." They listened. Certainly there was someone outside knocking gently. Can you hear it? "Come in if you can," said Moonface. "Unlock the door if the key's left in." But the key wasn't left in. No, Dame Slap had taken that away, you may be sure. "Who's there?" asked Silky. "Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong." "Who do you think it is?" "I think it's the clock." "It's my clock," cried Silky excitedly. "It's come to join us." "Oh," said Moonface, his big face going red with joy. "Tell your clock to go and get the key from somewhere and let us out." "That's no good," said Silky. "I noticed that Dame Slap wore all her keys on a string that hung from her waist. The clock could never get her key from her." "Oh," said Moonface sadly. Everybody thought hard. "Ding dong, ding dong," said the clock outside, and knocked again. "Look here, clock, it isn't any good, you dinging and donging and knocking to get in," called Joe. "We are locked in this room, and we haven't got a key to get us out." "Dong!" said the clock, and then it gave an excited ding and began to dance about on its big feet, up and down with its door wide open. Look, there's a picture here. There's Dame Slap and there's the clock running. Have a look. "Whatever is the clock doing?" said Silky in astonishment. "Warming its feet, I should think," said Fanny with a giggle, but it wasn't. It was jerking about, trying to jolt its own key off the little hook inside it, and at last it managed it. Clang! The key fell to the ground. "Whatever is your clock doing?" said Joe to Silky. "It must have gone mad." It hadn't. It was being very sensible. It kicked at the door with one of its feet, and the key slid under the door and into the room where the children were. "Oh, look," said Moonface in astonishment. "Your clock has jerked its key off the hook and kicked it under the door. Silky, really it is a most peculiar clock." Joe snatched up the key. "It might fit the door," he said. He tried it in the lock. It almost turned, but not quite. He was so disappointed. But Moonface grinned. He took the key and rubbed it with his little magic powder that he kept in a box in his pocket. "Now try it," he said. So Joe slipped it into the lock once more, and it turned right round and unlocked the door. They crowded quietly out of the room, Joe taking the clock's key with him. Silky gave the clock a huge hug, and it said ding dong, quite loudly. "Shh," said Silky. "Don't make a sound." "We'll try and find our aeroplane," said Joe. "Let's try to get out of the door into the garden. We shall soon find it." They tiptoed down a long passage, but just as they got to the end, who should they see coming along but old Dame Slap herself. "Quick, hide behind these curtains," said Joe. They slipped behind them, but Dame Slap had heard something and came up to the curtains. She was just going to pull them apart when Silky's clock walked out and shouted "Ding dong" in her ear and trod on her toes. Dame Slap gave a shout of rage and slapped the clock hard. It ran away down the passage with Dame Slap running after it. "Good old clock," said Silky. "It just walked out and ding-donged in time, Another minute and we would have all been found. Come on, said Moonface, peeping out of the curtains. We'd better do our best to get into the garden whilst the old dame is out of the way. They tiptoed down a long room and came to a door leading into the garden. Just as Joe was going to open it, he pushed them all quickly back in the room. Dame Slap is coming in here. Quick, hide behind the furniture. So quick as lightning, everyone crouched down behind the chairs, while Dame Slap opened the door and came in grumbling. Wait till I get that clock. And at that very moment the clock came running in on its flat feet and ding-donged very cheekily at her. Dame Slap picked up her skirts and tore down the long room and up the passage after it. The children, Moonface and Silky, the hens and the goats rushed to the garden door and crowded out into the garden. Find the aeroplane quickly, said Joe. They all ran down the path looking for the shiny plane. There it is, shouted Moonface. They all ran over and squeezed into it. I don't like leaving my clock behind, said Silky. It's been so clever. I wonder where it is. Look, there it is with old Dame Slap running after it. Sure enough, they saw the clock come waddling out from behind a bush, striking hard, and Dame Slap was after it, panting and very red in the face. The clock dodged neatly round a bush. Dame Slap tripped over a stone and fell down. The clock shot away to the aeroplane, and Silky helped it in. It sank down into a corner and struck 63 times without stopping. But this time nobody minded. They thought the clock was really brave. Dame Slap picked herself up and ran towards the aeroplane. Joe pressed the up handle. The propeller began to whir round and round. The aeroplane quivered and shook. It rose gently into the air and left Dame Slap below looking very angry. Answer this question, shouted Moonface. If 5 people, 7 hens, 1 goat and a clock go up in an aeroplane, put down how many slaps should be saved up for when they get home. Everyone laughed. Do be careful where we land next time, said Bessie. We really must get home. I think I know where we are, said Moonface, as he flew over a curious land where the trees were yellow and the grass was pink. If you can fly straight over till you come to a silver tower, then to the right till you come to the land of seagulls, then to the left over the 3 Bears Wood, we shall soon be home. Righty-ho, said Joe. He watched out for the silver tower, and when he saw it tall and gleaming, he pressed the handle marked to the right, and flew over till he came to the land of seagulls. This was quite easy to know, for all round and about, flying on snow-white wings, were hundreds of magnificent seagulls. The aeroplane had to go through slowly because of all the lovely birds. Joe flew to the left, and soon they were over the 3 Bears Wood and saw the rose-covered cottage where Goldilocks lived with the 3 bears. Good, now it won't be long before we're home, said Joe. He flew on till he came over the enchanted wood and landed in a field not far from it. Everybody jumped out. That was the most exciting adventure, said Fanny, but I hope we never see Dame Slap again. Quick, quick, catch the clock, said Bessie. It's trying to climb out of the aeroplane and it will fall. Dong, 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 said the clock, and it slid to the ground. We'll have to rush home now, said Joe, picking up his spade. Goodbye, Silky. Goodbye, Moonface. See you soon. Bessie, bring the goat, and Fanny, I will shoe the hens in front of us. They left the aeroplane for Moonface and Silky to do what they liked with it and set off home. And dear me, how astonished their mummy was to see the hens, the snow-white goat, and the fine garden spade. You must have been to the enchanted wood, she said. We've been much farther than that, said Joe. And they had, hadn't they? So, tomorrow's chapter's called The Army of Red Goblins. But you're going to have to wait until tomorrow to hear what happens in the next chapter. Okay, hope you've enjoyed the story today. Lots of love, both of you. Big kiss from Grandma. Bye.